We are back and ready to roll for another episode of the Shutdown Inning Podcast. Stephen Rissotto here with Tylor Hall. And I didn't mention the episode number because I forgot, but it is episode number 24. And Tylor, how's it going?
Hey, everybody, doing good. And then, most importantly, we have a special guest with us today. It's been a while since we had a guest, but today we're joined by Dr. Hal Gordon, more affectionately known to A's and baseball fans as Hal the Hot Dog Guy. He's an avid A's supporter and co-organizer of the A's reverse boycott last Tuesday at the Coliseum. We'll be diving into Hal's background with the team, the relocation saga, and what lies ahead for baseball in Oakland. So, Hal, welcome to the Shutdown Inning. Thanks for joining us.
Dude, thank you so much for having me, guys. I'm really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to, give Oakland its due and give the whole episode to the A's and to Oakland and what's been going on across the Bay. So before we kind of jump into that, for those unfamiliar with you, I mentioned you're Dr. Hal Gordon. That's not just a name you've given yourself. You are a doctor. Tell us about that a little bit really quick.
So I moved to the Bay Area. I grew up in Chicago, and then I was in DC for a while, but I moved to the Bay Area to go to graduate school at UC Berkeley. So I just actually ended up graduating with my with a PhD in environmental economics. But at the same time, I've been a vendor. I started vending in high school in 2005. At Cubs and White Sox games, which was great because the White Sox won the World Series that year. That was fun. But I did it in DC, and when I came out here, I was like, "Oh, I got that vending itch, that baseball vending itch." And I started vending at Giants and A's games, and eventually, through a bunch of sort of weird happenstances, I became a minor vending celebrity at Oakland A's games, and I really embraced that, really enjoyed it, and I did that up until last year, and now I've been a regular fan with everyone else, just trying to fight back against this relocation nonsense.
Yeah, and everybody kind of knows you as Hal the Hot Dog Guy, and you just mentioned how you're kind of well traveled. You have been, you've been around different stadiums you just mentioned. In terms of falling in love with the A's, because now we see what kind of A's fan you are now. How did it kind of start? Did it take a while for you to warm up to here we go, another team?
It's weird when you're going to 60 games a season as a vendor. You make more money when the team's winning. So you end up rooting for whoever you're at. But the story of me becoming Hal the Hot Dog Guy is a really kind of strange and funny story anyway. And actually it starts at I guess what was then AT&T or now Oracle Stadium. So I know you guys are big Giants fans, and so I started back in, I think, 2016, I started vending in the Bay. And so I was doing a lot of Giants games because there's a lot more fans there and a lot more money there. And I got to know this old time vendor in it. He's always about maybe 15 years older than me, but a guy who was born in San Francisco and had started vending Cal games when he was like 5 or 6 with his family, guy by the name of Jimmy Graff. People might know him. Giants fans might know him. He was the hot dog guy at Giants games up until through 2019. And Jimmy was almost a vending mentor of mine when I got out here. I'd done a lot of vending, so I knew the game. But I was always so strange when getting to know Jimmy, because he didn't sell a lot of hot dogs. He would just hang out with Giants fans in the stands. People knew him for 30, 40 years. People would take pictures of him. And I'm like, what kind of vendor are people taking selfies with? That's insane. And he would walk away with all this tip money, right? So he wouldn't sell a lot, but he'd make a ton in tips because people knew him and loved him. Didn't make any sense to me. I was just out there running as hard as I could with 2 cases of hot chocolate, out to the bleachers, man. Those were some good games. When that wind starts whipping, it's like, oh, that's vendor central right there. But But so the A's in 2017, right when Dave Kaval started with the A's, they were trying to find as many ways to bring people into the stadium as possible. And one of the smaller things they thought of was like, hey, let's get Jimmy to come, because he would come to some A's games, but he's mostly Giants. And, they're like, let's get him every game, and like, let's do it right. Let's give him let's make him wear a red and white striped vest, like an old timey vendor. Let's like, so he had his old steamer, that steel steamer where he'd steam the hot dogs and the buns and stuff at Giants. And so they said, well, let's bring one over there to A's, and like, let's bring all the condiments, like all of them, like sauerkraut, onions, jalapenos, everything. And he said, I'll do it if I can do it with somebody else, because it's going to be a lot of work. And so he said, Hal, I'm picking you to be my other hot dog vendor, not because I think you're any good, but because I can't trust any of the other vendors. They're all crooks. So I started doing that with him. And, he had this like vision of like, let's make this really special. And, over the next year or so, at the beginning of 2018, he was like, or the beginning of 2018, he was like, well, let's get rid of these stupid uniforms. We had like uniforms from Party City, these like red and white striped uniform, like vest. He's like, I know a guy, he owns like a bespoke tailor shop in North Beach. I grew up with him. His name's Al's attire. We're going there. And so I found myself sitting in this like bespoke, like cobbler and tailor shop. And this guy's like, yeah, we could do this. I'm gonna stitch each stripe together perfectly. It'll be like $600-$700 a vest. It's gonna be great. I'm like, what the hell are we doing? We're just vendors. Why are we buying $600 vests? But Jimmy really wanted to do it right. And we ended up doing it right. And people started to know, and get to know us really well at the Coliseum. They put us on TV all the time. I started, you can go on tops.com and make a baseball card of yourself. So I started ordering hundreds of baseball cards of myself, and I would go up to little kids and be like, would you like an autograph? And little kids are like, oh, an autograph on a baseball card? That's amazing. Who cares who it is? And so then I think I tricked people into thinking that I was famous that way. And then eventually adults wanted the card and all this other stuff. And, I started kind of curtailing games at Giants, because, I was still doing a PhD, so I didn't have all the time in the world. So started mostly doing A's games then. And, I think sort of the fan base and I sort of fell in love with each other, like they really enjoyed what I was doing. I'd be out there, especially those small crowds. I would get out there and be loud. People would be like on TV being like, oh, I could hear you getting everyone chanting. My favorite chant is, all right, you guys got to do it's call and response here. So get ready.
Let's do it.
Give me an A.
Hey.
What's that spell?
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Nice.
That was my favorite one. And people be like, oh, I could hear you on TV, I saw you on TV, And so, the all the shit that, rains down on the A's fan base, there's diehards, there's people who just absolutely love the game and know everything about the game and know everything about their team at every stadium. But when you create a situation like Oakland, that's like the only people you have left. Yeah. Some games, and so I really got to know a lot of the people there and a lot of the fans, and it was just fun being. It was so much fun being like a part of people's experience at the game, and it was so much fun, kind of creating something new and creating this fan experience and being, it was cool for people to just know who I was. Jimmy, you haven't seen Jimmy at the Giants games anymore because he passed away in 2019, like unexpectedly in December. And so, partly I kept doing it, like thinking like, okay, this was Jimmy's vision. I want to keep this going. But yeah, I mean, I have a lot of love for for Giants fans, most of my vending when I first started in the Bay was at Giants games and stuff. And, but I've really gotten involved with the A's fan base and gotten to know so many people there and gotten to know like their love of the sport and their love of Oakland. And I'm wearing an Oakland Roots sweatshirt now because now I like to go, and sometimes I'll do some vending at Oakland Roots games or Oakland Soul games, but mostly I'm just hanging out there with friends because it's a cool community. And yeah, when we heard that they wanted to, I mean, they always were threatening to move, but when it became real this year, it's somebody who knew so many people in that fandom and developed a real affection for all of it. It just felt like we had to fight. We had to do something.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think we'll get into the reverse boycott here in a little bit, but one of my kind of takeaways and what was kind of talked about a lot on Twitter was, if the A's fans showed if the team loved them, they would love them back. And that's kind of how you ingrained yourself in A's culture. The fans loved you and you loved them back. So that's awesome, man.
I like occasionally, especially like last year, I would occasionally see John Fisher he had like a seat that he would sit in, and I would make him a hot dog and stuff. And I just, I never like said it to him, but I just always thought like, it's so fun. It's like so fun to walk around a baseball stadium and be like known and like have people say nice things to you. Like as a little kid, you can only imagine that if you're like, the shortstop and nobody gets to be the shortstop, Yeah. And I just thought like, man, if I'm a billionaire, you could choose all kinds of things for your life. And if you're going to own a team, like, why not be a dick?
Yeah.
Like why not just be like somebody who, people will say, oh, hey, it's John. Thanks for doing whatever. But like, oh,
yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah, I walk into that place, I go, Steven Rissotto's here.
Right.
Well, yeah, like you mentioned, the A's have been, it's been kind of a thing for, are they going to move? And it's become more real recently. But I feel like a lot of people's knowledge about that, the kind of timeline and how things have kind of progressed has been kind of limited and really kind of just what's been going on recently. So just for some of the listeners that may not be as familiar with kind of the timeline and how long this has been going on, would you mind like giving the listeners a kind of like a Cliff Notes version of how long this has been going on? And especially kind of when we transition to this new ownership, what it's been like.
Yeah, I mean, the A's have been really looking for a stadium. They were looking for a stadium pretty quickly after the Giants like got their new stadium like cemented. So like, I don't know, like 20-25 years they've been working on it. I think the earliest attempts were to get a stadium like in San Jose and stuff, and that there's like I don't think it's really warranted, but there's some A's fans that are still like mad at the Giants because basically the Giants got, to save themselves, to say, okay, we won't become the Tampa Bay Rays. One of their conditions was, having San Jose be their territory. So they tried San Jose, they tried Fremont, they tried a bunch of other stuff, and the sort of the most, of course, all the while since the early 90s, like, once the Giants got their stadium, the A's and the Giants kept trading off, who would be the most popular ticket in town. And then as soon as the Giants opened Pac Bell, the A's have been, were second fiddle immediately, and so the A's have been trying to get a new stadium since then. Lou Wolf owned them before, and he was the one trying to get them like Cisco Field in Fremont and all these other stadiums that they'd announce and have pictures of and big fanfare, and eventually it would just fall apart. John Fisher was Lou Wolf's like minority partner, and I think eventually I forget when, maybe 2015 or something, he bought Lou Wolf out fully, and then brought John Fisher also owns the Earthquakes in San Jose. So Dave Kaval was the president of the Earthquakes in San Jose. Dave Kaval got Avaya Stadium built down there. And so John Fisher brought him in the beginning of 2017. The two big acquisitions was a new president and a new hot dog vendor, right? Of course. For that year.
Naturally.
But yeah, obviously. So he brought him in, and Dave Kaval, everyone got really excited because Kaval was like, we're going to get this done. We're doing this. Kaval would talk all the time about how he grew up in Cleveland, and he saw Art Modell take the Browns away and how that broke his heart. But at the same time, the Coliseum was just, it's in bad shape in general. But once people know that there is a much better way to see a game, at Giants, I think that also just people really understood, oh, this is a subpar place to see a game, and it's a subpar product. It's not, when you leave a game at the Giants, there's bars all around, people can go hang out in bars, people can keep the party going. At A's games, they're like, hey man, we're closing the parking lot gates close 45 minutes after the game's over, get the hell out.
Yeah.
And there's nothing around there, it's a bad stadium and it's decrepit. And, I've seen plenty of, bad stuff there, with just, sewage and vermin and stuff. I mean, the place is not fit to really have a team, but A's fans themselves will just tell you too, is that even when this last cycle, when they were winning, starting in 2018, they made the wild card game and lost in New York, and then 2019 they lost the wild card game in Oakland with 50,000 people there. But even then, people would say yeah, I'm really excited about these players, Marcus Semien, Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, but we've been here before. There's the biggest free agent contract the A's have ever signed was Eric Chavez, and that was 2004 or something. You know they're not going to be there. That they're not going to be there. You'll never have that team or that player like Crawford or something who's in a Visit California TV ad, it's not even an ad for the Giants. It's not even an ad for San Francisco. It's an ad for California. You just that they're not going to be there. That it's not going to happen. And you have ownership saying we're going to be just like the Giants as soon as we get our stadium. They tried a bunch of cool stuff originally. In 2018, they came out with this A's Access, which was basically if you bought any ticket plan, it shouldn't have been any ticket plan. It was too generous, but if you bought any ticket plan, food's 50% off. It was this crazy stuff. They were just trying to get people there, and they got some people there, but they weren't selling out still, and they were winning 97 games. And it's, it might be that the Bay Area is not big enough for two teams. That might be the case, but I also just know so many people who've been there for 55 years or who've been there their entire lives. And I think if they had gotten a new stadium, I think the A's would have been right there neck and neck with the Giants and stuff. And that's what everybody wanted. And once a couple things happened in 2021, which was that Dave Kaval comes out and says, we're doing parallel paths, we're going to start looking at Vegas. And I mean, all these fans, they just were so many people I talked to were it's over. And I'm it's not over. We got so many more, we're going to keep doing all this stuff, to build in California. It takes so much effort. You have to go to so many meetings, get so much approval. The Bay, this thing called the BCDC, dude, Oakland A's fans know so much about all this politics now. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But like, it's just like it wasn't over, but all these people, I think there's so many people who knew it was over. And they didn't bring back any of those ticket prices for 2021 because it was like, oh, we're doing pods. We have to do pods at the beginning of the year. We can only have 2,000 people at each game at the beginning of the year. And then at the end of that season, they announced that for the next year, we're no longer doing that 50% off food or 50% off tickets if you get a season ticket price. So like all these people are like, you're doubling my season tickets, and they traded everybody. They traded everybody. And it was just like, well, what the fuck do we do now? It's just like they don't want us here. They don't want us here. One of the
sorry to cut you off, but do you think until that point the A's were negotiating in good faith to try to stay in Oakland, and then it kind of turned then, and that's when it was like, okay, we're going to get out of here?
There's people who say like there's people who say like this was their plan all along. I don't think that's true. I think that they were negotiating in good faith. I think that they may have been negotiating in good faith, but I think they also may have been slightly incompetent too. Like they picked the most difficult thing to do in Oakland, which was, we're going to build at a site that is so Howard Terminal is like, it's a brownfield. It's a toxic, all the soil underneath it is toxic. They're going to have to remove all that soil. They're going to have to build up, for climate change, for rising sea levels. They're going to have to build up all this stuff for rising sea levels. There's incredible opposition from the most powerful union in Oakland, which is the Longshoremen's Union, because it was on port land. And then on top of that, clearly the way that they were planning to pay for the stadium was because Oakland, I think, had learned their lesson with Al Davis and Mount Davis and the Coliseum nonsense, which they're still paying for. The team's in Vegas been in Vegas for like 4 years. They're still paying for that, basically ruining the Coliseum with Mount Davis. They learned like, okay, you have to pay for the stadium yourself, but we'll help with infrastructure costs and stuff. And so the way they're going to pay for it was they were going to do sort of similar to the Mission Bay, what they did in Mission Bay with the Giants. They originally had those parking lots, and now it's a new neighborhood. The Giants built or helped build all those apartment buildings and stuff. So they wanted to do all this. And I think that they weren't ready to do it. And when the market turned and inflation made all the infrastructure more expensive, Oakland is still willing to do this. They're still willing to do Howard Terminal. Like, there's like a couple things that they need to iron out, but it's not big. Through the grapevine, I've heard from a lot of people in Oakland, and it's not big. Like, they could do this. What they clearly decided was they bit off too much, more than they could chew, which was their choice. And then they thought, Bay Area, work from home, people aren't going to games anymore. Let's just use this as an excuse, and we're just going to go to Vegas, because those guys, they haven't had to pay for Mount Davis yet. They don't know, right? They don't know. And we can just fucking steal whatever we want from them. And boom, we'll be the new guys. And it's just criminal, man. Like if it was like with the Raiders, where the city of Oakland was like, we're not going to give you, we're not going to build you a football stadium. We're not going to work with you. Like, that makes sense. I understand why the Raiders left, but Oakland has done almost everything that the A's have asked for them. And the A's just keep finding reasons to say, no, not good enough. No, not good enough. And now they're just like, we're out. And it does feel like fans absolutely now feel like that they were played, and that now they're being made the scapegoats, because there's nobody at these games. It is so weird. It's so weird to go to a Major League Baseball game and I vended a few of them last year. I haven't been vending this year. I mean, partly it's been nice to not have to vend because I can help organize this opposition and stuff. But I vended games where there was less than 3,000 people. It is bizarre. But like, but also, who wants to go? Like, one of the, it makes the way that baseball contracts are built, it makes sense that, if you have no money, that you have to like implode and rebuild. Like, I kind of get it. I understand, like, but if you're going to put a minor league baseball team out there, like, make it a minor league experience, like, make it fun. You guys have been to an A's game and seen the Big Head race.
Oh, definitely.
Where they have, yeah. So since COVID, they've run the Big Heads maybe 5 times.
Wow.
What?
They just stopped doing it. Because I think they realized they had to pay each person probably $200. They're like, $600 a game. We can't afford it. We're like, why would you give your money to a team if they don't even like run the Big Head races anymore? Like,
yeah, I mean, they were like the 5th most profitable team in baseball last year, according to Forbes. Like,
it's just maddening. And I mean, obviously attendance would be terrible right now if they hadn't, said that they were thinking about moving or decided to move. But like, I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? Like, you're a sports fan, it's like there's an implicit contract between you and your team where you're like, I'll support you, in good times, and support you less, but still go and support you in bad times. But they broke the contract, man. They broke the contract. They said, we're raising prices on you. We're doubling your season tickets. We've gotten rid of everybody. Dude, last year, Sean Murphy, I think he had 5. I think his WAR was like 5. The rest of the Oakland A's team combined had a WAR of 1. And they traded him.
And then they got rid of him.
They got rid of him. It's like, dude, like, what are we even here for? You don't want to be here anymore. You keep telling us that this is a stadium that's not fit to have a Major League Baseball team. Like, I agree, but you're not trying to make it fun. You're not trying, you're not trying. And eventually, man, like, you can't blame the customers. It's their money, Like, who would spend your money? Why would you do that to yourself? And there are some diehards who are still there, but this was sort of this. It's just, I mean, what a bunch of jerks, frankly.
Yeah. And one of the things that kind of was a huge story in the Bay Area and was a big story even around baseball was, obviously, Tyler mentioned it at the top of the show, was the reverse boycott. And it's unfortunate that it did have to happen. Ideally, the fans should not be doing their own giveaways with sell shirts. In a perfect world, that would not happen at all. But we do want to know, I mean, how far back did this planning start, and what kind of went into it, and what was that experience like? Because it seemed like a pretty electric atmosphere.
It was so amazing. And like, the amount of like pain, that I will feel seeing the A's in Las Vegas, won't be worth it. But like, also, it wasn't, it continues to be like such an inspiring, like, part of being a fan, like being a sports fan is like kind of inherently silly, right? It's like, some people are like, oh, it's like, it's like reality TV for men or something, or whatever. But like, not to say that there aren't amazing, fans that are women, and like, but like, it is important. People who are fans know that it's important. And to see this, like, this fandom, this like moment of fandom, the reverse boycott, it was so cool. So what happened originally was a fan that I know real well, Stu Clary. He lives in Vacaville. He's a high school baseball coach and teacher. And, so he spends a lot of his summers hanging out at the Coliseum. And he on Twitter was just like, this was actually a week before they announced that they were going to move to Las Vegas. He was just like, everyone keeps blaming us. Let's show them that we're not the problem. Let's pick let's pick a random Tuesday night. And so he opened his schedule. This was back in late April. And he was like, how about a June Tuesday game against the Rays, right? Like the two misfit teams that don't have stadiums. And let's just everybody go. And people were like, yeah, let's do that. That sounds awesome. And I started thinking of ideas of like how to do, like, make it cool and stuff. And the Oakland 68s, who, for people who don't know, that's the fan group in right field who plays the drums. And they are organized. The president, Jorge Leon, has modeled it off of soccer supporter groups, football supporter groups, in Europe. And he's like, let's, we're a fan group. We're not affiliated with the team, but so they started getting excited about it. And then we heard the news, which was just like, it was a crazy punch to the gut. I was actually on the East Coast when it happened. So it happened, like the news leaked, I think 9 p.m. Pacific. It was midnight in DC where I was at the time. And
you guys had the Twitter space.
Yeah, I never hosted a Twitter. I just started a Twitter space, and people for the next 4 or 5 hours, people were just on that Twitter space, just crying, just absolutely crying our eyes out, just knowing that it was lost. And I think people were like, well, we're not doing that. Well, we're not going to do any of that shit. But, after a week or two, people, I think, started getting the taste, for fight. And, one of the first things that happened is Oaklandish, which I'm wearing their hat right here. Oaklandish was reached out to the 68s, and they said, we're going to print you a box of green shirts that just say sell if you promise to wear them on the first game back. So we were all out in the bleachers wearing this shirt, and a bunch of news stories were there. And in the middle of the game, there was, again, it was during a Warriors Kings playoff game, that first game back after they announced that they left. So it was a Friday night, and there's probably 4,000 people there, but everyone in the bleachers, we had those signs. They tried to crop the signs out, which was such a stupid barbarous, it's a Streisand effect idiots. But we walked behind home plate. We walked around the stadium and got people chanting, sell the team. And people were started to get that taste to fight. I saw news articles about the Columbus Crew in MLS. They wanted to move the Columbus Crew to Austin, and the Crew supporter group banded together and had all these events and somehow saved the team, convinced that the owner to sell to somebody in Columbus. And I think he got his own expansion in Austin. And we were just I don't know what to do, but people were starting to get excited about the 13th. And I think what was galvanizing was these shirts, because Oaklandish said, well, we'll print you a few more boxes for that game. You can wear them in the bleachers. And the 68s were going to lay them out, on all the bleacher seats, like you do at a playoff game in the NBA or something. And, they were saying, well, we're just doing this at cost. We're finding the cheapest shirts we can to do this, and so, if you want to throw us a couple $100, we'll try and make a couple hundred more shirts. And right as this happened, somebody who lives in New York City had called Oaklandish and said, I'm buying a ticket to the Yankees A's game right behind home plate, and that's that diamond level in New York. That's the most expensive, right? So I think he spent $680 on this ticket, and he said, send me a shirt. And they sent him a shirt, and he wore it behind home plate. And in the middle of the game, he DM'd me on Twitter, because I had posted a screenshot of it. He DM'd me on Twitter. He's like, I'm not a rich guy. I'm just a kid. I just did this. I probably should not have spent $680 on a baseball ticket. Can you just drop my Venmo on Twitter? And I was, yeah, sure. And an hour later, he texts me back. He goes, I've already gotten more than $680 in my Venmo account. I'm going to send the rest to charity. And next time I saw Jorge, I was like, we need to like fundraise it. Like we need to figure out what it costs Oaklandish to print these shirts, and we need to fundraise for June 15th. And Oaklandish originally was like, yeah, I mean, whatever you get, we'll print. It's no problem. $5 a shirt is what our costs are. And I was like, great. And I posted on Twitter. I was like, we want to print 5,000 shirts. That's going to be $25,000. You know, let's try. The first hour, Jorge, or like first 30 minutes, Jorge, emails me or texts me. He goes, we already got $350. I'm like, fuck, 100 of those dollars is me. It's like the Office when Michael tries to like raise money for what rabies, and
the rabies run.
he donates $500 and they raise $600, right? You know, I was like, oh shit, this was stupid. But after about 5 days, we had like $10,000, and then it just like took off from there. And eventually Oaklandish called us and they were like, so we called all of our suppliers. We have 7,000 shirts. We cannot find any more shirts. So it's just going to be 7,000. So we ended up raising like almost 40 grand. And the other thing that I wanted to do was, from my experience as Hal the Hot Dog Guy, like getting people chanting. I was like, the 68s, they're out there. They're like, they got PhDs in chanting, they got the drums, they got crazy chants. It's always a party out there. Like, so I was like, well, we need to get everybody on board. And so I worked with the Last Dive Bar guys. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody wearing a t-shirt that says, Oakland Coliseum Baseball's Dive Bar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are those guys. They print those shirts. They also print tons of other shirts and stuff, and they give all their money to charity. And so I talked to them. I was like, you guys, have, know all these print shops and stuff. Like, let's print out cheer cards. I got one here. I'll just grab it right now.
It's great content right here.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. So here it is. We printed this. We are here, but on the back, it has instructions on what to do. So it says, it says at the top of every inning, sell the team. At the bottom of every inning, stay in Oakland. And then when I originally did this, I was like going to have a different chant for each inning. And people were like, dude, this is way too much for people to follow. So the one thing I kept was, I said, we've been in Oakland for 55 years. The top of the fifth inning, everyone stand up and don't make a noise. Just be quiet for the first at bat. And then after that, the loudest sell the team you can. And I remember at the game, my wife, so we handed out like 5,000 of these, right? So we handed them out with the shirts. I brought a bunch in with me and I handed them out to people, just to like, figuring like, you don't need everyone to know what's going on because people will just follow. But if 10% of people know, 20% of people know what's going on, then everyone else can kind of follow.
Yep.
And I remember in the fourth inning, like a friend of mine, like an old hot dog regular was sitting in front of me, Jerry. He keeps turning around. He goes, when am I supposed to stand up and not say anything? What's this homework? My wife's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? No one's going to do this.
Homework.
And the fifth inning rolls around. Yeah, right. The fifth inning rolls around and all of a sudden everyone just stands up and everyone's quiet. And it was, I mean, I've been in silent stadiums before, right? But that's like when after your team gives up a grand slam, in the eighth inning, and everyone's just like, fuck, game's lost. Right. I've never been in a stadium where everyone was on their feet. It was complete silence. But you could just it's just the simmering combination of like, I wouldn't say like anger, but like these Ace fans have been just shit on for so long, like all these people wanted to let the world know and honestly to let us know too, like to let Oakland know that this mattered, that we were there. And it was just so silent. And there was the first batter hit a double. And as soon as the ball gets into the infield, people start just chanting, sell the team. and it was deafening. What was so perfect about it was the pitcher, the A's pitcher Hogan, he starts motioning to his catcher, saying the pitch comm's broken, and so the catcher and the ump go out to the mound. They realize it was working. It just, the Coliseum had never been that loud before.
Yeah.
And it was just, you know, it's goosebumps. It was just goosebumps. And it was just like, Rob Manfred the next day, like, or 2 days later, I think, like, had some fucking snarky ass comment about
we actually have it for you. It was actually our next question for you. So we'll hit you with this amazing quote from the commissioner of baseball.
Yeah.
It's great to see where was it? Where is this jerk? It is great to see what is this year almost an average Major League Baseball crowd in the facility for one night. That's a great thing.
Go to hell.
That's the commissioner of baseball, everybody.
What a jerk, man. Like, we stood out there for hours before the game handing out shirts. Like, we organized our own giveaway. People there. I'll say this too. Some people have said this. There was we didn't know when we scheduled it, but there was a K-pop concert at the Oakland Arena across the street. So like, there was tons of people who were like tried to get there and gave up. The traffic was like insane. Like, people got there in the 7th or 8th inning, like, and it just was like, whatever. No number would have been good enough, obviously, for Rob Manfred and John Fisher, but like, dude, you're the ones who caused this, and we're the ones here who did this, and you're just like, oh, that was nice. And like, the amount of passion, like, I think that I don't think it was anything special about the A's. I think it's what's special about baseball and what's special about being a baseball fan. Like, you guys are old enough to maybe remember when you were really young, when the Giants were threatening to go to St. Petersburg. Like, like this was the people's passion for your game, for your sport. And you're just like, oh, that was cute. Fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
Didn't get it. But what was important was, I think, that, all the baseball writers across the country get it. The media got it. And I think Giants fans, probably, you guys, that's why you asked me to come in here and talk. You guys got it. You heard it.
Yeah.
There's just something, I'm getting choked up thinking about it. There's like a feeling of helplessness. I think that A's fans have, just being shit on for so long, and then being told, this guy constantly telling you, I know what it feels like. I saw the Browns leave, and then hearing your elected officials saying, like, we're doing everything we can. We were ready to negotiate, like, they left the negotiations. And you're just like, what are you supposed to do? Like, this shouldn't be the way it is. It just doesn't happen in Europe. They don't do this in Europe. Like, they shouldn't do this anywhere. Relegate the A's. I don't care. Put them in AAA. Like, if we have promotion relegation, it would be, a 20th of the pain. And you just don't know what to do. And this is what we did. And it's not gonna work. I don't think it's gonna work. I think that they're gone. But we took a stand, and if nothing else, we proved, I think, to our own community that we mattered and stuff. So it was a crazy night. It was insane. It was really moving.
It was really cool to see, man. I just let you know, I wanted to be there. I grew up going to a lot of games in the Coliseum. I grew up in Sacramento. So if there was a weekend, we could go to a baseball game. If the A's were in town, we went to the Coliseum. If the Giants were in town, we drove to Candlestick. So I have a lot of good memories in that stadium. I wanted to be there. I was on the East Coast for work. So I was like, okay, I want to see the beginning of the game. Made it to the beginning of the game. I was like, okay, I want to see the thing in the 5th. Made it for the 5th. And I was like, I'm not going to bed. I went to bed at like 2 a.m. on the East Coast because I didn't want to miss that game, man. And
thanks.
So, it was awesome to watch. And, I've been supporting on Twitter and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, when we didn't, I think it was unclear what to do next, and if there is anything to do. And I think what we're going to do now is we're going to try and reach out to more, we might hold another sort of version of this at the end of the season, but we're also going to reach out to other fan bases and ask them, because I think everybody who doesn't live in Las Vegas or isn't, a billionaire owner of a Major League Baseball team, like sort of understands that this isn't right. At least now, I hope. I think since that game, I've seen a lot less people on Twitter be like, "Well, what do you expect? There's nobody at the games." So our next plan here is for the first game of the Bay Bridge series, which I believe is June or July 25th. I think it's a
Tuesday, July 25th. Right.
So we're gonna do sort of a similar thing. We're not gonna spend $40,000 on t-shirts again, but I think we're going to build. We're gonna. There's a cool cartoonist and artist who's an A's fan who's made a lot of art, and you remember that Citgo ad from the '89 World Series,
Mm-hmm.
the two guys across the bay,
Yeah.
the two sluggers, so he recreated that, but with them shaking hands on the bridge, and we're gonna sort of I think we're probably gonna make more cheer cards, but with that on it. And we're going to ask Giants fans to join us in some chants that game. And, I think a lot of A's fans too, who couldn't be at the reverse boycott or frankly had just been so checked out of the A's, because it's been so painful and such bullshit, like I heard from people in the A's organization that they've been selling a lot more tickets since the reverse boycott. Like people are, so you're welcome, John Fisher. I'm glad I could sell some tickets in that. I know he listens to the podcast, so
yeah.
But like I think I hope a ton of A's fans show up at Oracle Field that game, and I know a lot of Giants fans are behind us too. So I don't think we'll be able to ever top the rock, but whatever we can do, and it's partly trying to savor the last moments. What's so painful too is like the team is so terrible, and the experience of going to the stadium is so terrible that it's like hard to you're about to lose this forever, but it's hard to savor it. So like I think a game like the Bay Bridge series at Oracle will be like a fun way to continue savoring that, and to continue letting Manfred know that, his customers, they know this is bullshit, and it's not right. And that's all you can do. I think that there's like a hope in my heart too, that, to show the if there are any billionaires out there who want to, try and get an expansion team in Oakland, to let them know that like we're still here and we'll support you. And I don't know, there's so much these billionaires who run these teams, they're all kind of conservative guys who think the Bay's full of a bunch of it's an impossible place to live, and it's and who cares about all these woke losers. I don't really know if they'll ever think about putting another team in Oakland, but if they do, it's in another way to sort of show them that like if you don't kick us in the gut for 20 years in a row, we'll show up for you. So
no, 100%. And we're definitely looking forward to that Tuesday, the Bay Bridge series. I think that should be a lot of fun. And you guys are going to have a proven track record of organizing these events. So that's pretty cool. And before we wrap up, Hal, we do have a few we call this the speedy shutdown, where we ask a few quick questions. And
all right, let's do it.
Sometimes it's rapid fire, but you could take your time with it, whatever works for you. So I'll start with the first one. Okay, here we go. If you could trade places with any player in today's game, who would it be?
Trade places with any player. Oh man.
Or hot dog vendor.
I mean, I think like I'll say this. I'll say this. Even this offseason, like watching the pain that you guys felt not being able to get Aaron Judge and shit, I was just like, dude, I would love to be in the running for Carlos Correa and Aaron Judge and just not get them. I would love to worry about that, because at least I know the Giants aren't leaving. But if I could trade places with any player, I think it would be pretty sick to be. I mean, everybody probably thinks, oh, it's just like, why would you want to be Shohei Ohtani? But like, I mean, yeah, he's going to make so much money. But, I think, yeah, dude, why wouldn't you want to be Shohei? You get to be out there all the time. You get to do both. And and I think there'll be pressure on him. I think one of the things I thought of when Aaron Judge decided to stay with the Yankees was I was like, if he'd gone to like the Giants, the pressure, like, first of all, now all the Yankees fans hate you. And then if you're not as good as advertised with the Giants, you get injured and stuff, then your contract is an albatross and all the Giants fans are going to hate you.
Yeah.
So, it's also pretty good to be Aaron Judge right now because you got such a huge freaking contract. And I think it'll take Yankees fans a long time if he stops, because like life happens, injuries happen, you get old. I think Aaron Judge, like if that happens to him, I think Yankees fans will give him the benefit of the doubt for a while because he decided to stay with them. So, but yeah, obviously it'd be so much fun to be Shohei Ohtani. That'd be so sick.
Yeah,
so cool.
You could strike out Aaron Judge and then hit a bomb off Garrett Cole the next half inning. What's not to like?
To just be like somebody who like has skills that no one's ever seen before. Like,
yeah,
what a blessing, what a blessed life, man. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, for sure. Number 2, we have 5 of these, by the way. Number 2 on the Speedy Shutdown, not all baseball related. You can go anywhere with this one. Funniest movie of all time.
Funniest what of all time?
Funniest movie of all time.
Funniest movie of all time. Oh man. Yeah, dude. All right. Well, I'm gonna take this in a time machine. I don't think this is the funniest movie of all time, but this was the funniest movie of all time when I saw it when I was like in 8th grade. I think I saw, or in high school or like freshman year of high school. I think it was probably like 7th or 8th grade. I think I saw the movie Rat Race, which is this like old crappy screwball movie. It's like a remake of another movie where there's just like people. I don't even remember anything about it. I don't think I've seen it since then. But all I remember was, being like in 6th or 7th grade and seeing all this like screwball comedy and thinking, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. These people driving around like screwing around. I think they're like trying to do a race to Las Vegas or something to get a bunch of money. I don't even remember anything about it. I think I like came close to just peeing my pants. At that moment, I thought this is the pinnacle of comedy. Nothing will ever be more funny than this. So I would pick that one. And I will never watch it again because I'm sure it's a terrible movie and I wouldn't find it funny anymore.
Nice.
That's great. So, okay, number 3. If you could watch any player you never saw live, or I'm going to change this a little bit and say any player or any moment that you never saw live in baseball, what or who would it be?
Hell yeah. All right. I think it would probably be I would love to watch Satchel Paige pitch, because he just seemed like an absolute lunatic. As a kid, my favorite book was this book by Bill Veeck called Veeck is in Wreck, and Bill Veeck owned 3 different baseball teams, Major League Baseball teams, and he also owned a minor league team at various times in his life. What a weird life. But he when he integrated the American League with Larry Doby when he owned the Cleveland Indians, he also then brought on Satchel Paige, and Satchel Paige was like 40 at the time, and he was still pitching. And the guy, I guess, had like all these crazy names for his pitches, like like I think he, like, I don't really remember, but I think it was like, the put me to sleep pitch. That's the pitch where it just puts you to sleep because it takes so long for me to throw it. And the story in that book was that like he'd asked them to save a ticket at the ticket booth for Mrs. Page every game, and every game a different woman was Mrs. Page to pick up the ticket. And it just seemed like, from those stories, it just seemed like a guy who was almost done with his career, but he had all of his, all of the money and the fame that he should have had was stolen from him because of segregation. And he just got to the major leagues, for like a year or two at the end of his, career, when, but the man still just had all these like crazy sayings and crazy names for his pitches. And he would do all these goofball things. And it's just like, it's just, if I was a major league player, I would want to sort of recognize that it's, what you're doing is inherently ridiculous, and have fun with it. Who knows how long you'll be there? Who knows how long you'll be in the show? Who knows how long you'll be Hal the hot dog guy or whatever? But as long as you had fun with it and made it your own, that's cool. I think that would be really cool to see him pitch.
One thing real quick that the A's marketing should do is they should do, because you brought up Bill Veeck, like a disco demolition night. Okay. I don't like, that would be the one night where that would be amazing. Like, especially towards the end, like, let's say this Vegas thing, happens or whatever.
Yeah.
And like one of the final days at the Coliseum before all the farewell stuff, disco demolition night, don't destroy the Coliseum, but destroy like all the stuff, I don't know. That would be a lot of fun.
Tear Mount Davis down.
Tear Mount Davis down.
It would be so much fun. Yes. But that would require them to, first of all, pay $600 for the goddamn big heads to race once in a while. Yeah. I mean, they just don't give a fuck. They don't care. But yeah, dude. I mean, that's another thing that I just love.
Hire a dwarf to
sporting events. Yeah. It's like, do fun stuff, do cool stuff. Take it seriously, but also don't take it seriously, because, you should take it seriously because people love baseball. People love their team. People love their community, and they get to cheer their community and cheer their team and have pride in their community and share this with their children. And think like, my children will bring their children, but also don't take it seriously, because make a card of a vendor and have them sign autographs. Yeah. Like, that's so silly, right? Like, just because it's inherently a serious and silly thing, just have fun.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of another, we can have fun with this one too. How, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Oh man, any superpower, man. Like, usually you pick, like, oh, you want to be invisible, you want to fly or something, but like, I mean, I think that there's probably like serious answers to this, but let's not get too serious. Like, I think like
instant glizzy maker.
Just, yeah, right. Yeah. And it just like just a hot dog cannon for an arm. But like, just like, I think a superpower that would be awesome is just to like be able to make people laugh, like whenever you want to do it, or just to be such, it's kind of a lame superpower, but that's what's cool, man. Like, it's just being able to be someplace and just like bring joy to people, man. I don't know. That's so much.
I don't
fun.
think that's lame at all, man.
Yeah, Bruce Almighty. Yeah, Bruce Almighty.
There you go.
Right there. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Just yeah. Boom. Let's have an instant party, a party wand. Just like a wand where you just take any instance and just be like, boom, now it's a party.
Hey. At any given time.
Give me an A, baby. That'd be sick.
Alrighty. This is number 5 now. Final one. If you
Yeah.
could do anything in sports, what would it be?
Oh, I mean, okay. So, I mean, the real answer would be I would want to change the way that we like have the ownership structure of sports in America. Like, I would like to bring like promotion and relegation, right? Because I think that'd be great because it does a couple things, right? It makes when it, people, teams won't like, tank. And if your team's bad, there's still a reason to go to the game because you like have a relegation battle, man. And obviously, right now, the main thing I'm thinking is like you don't really move teams with promotion and relegation. If Vegas wants a team, they can just get promoted, But if it's silly, what I would love to see is every All-Star game. So the game's in Seattle this year. What they should have is, when I was a vendor with the White Sox, the Miller Lite, I think this was like in 2006. Miller Lite did this promotion. It was like a month-long promotion of all White Sox games. It was like called Beer Vendor Appreciation Month, and every beer vendor had a pin, like a pin or like a button with like a number, and there's a phone number that you could text. You could text that number to vote for your favorite beer vendor, and at the end of the month, they had a beer vendor bobblehead giveaway. Also the A's haven't given away a bobblehead since 2019. This year they're going to give away one bobblehead, and it is a generic bobblehead of an A's 60, like a 1960s A's bobblehead, because they don't have any players to make a bobblehead of. Anyway, but like they gave away a bobblehead of a beer vendor. But like, so I want to do something like that in every stadium before the All-Star game. And then all the vendors at the All-Star game are like the All-Star vendors. Like, so you have like the best Cincinnati Reds vendor and
Nice.
the best Florida Marlins vendor, and they like wear their uniforms and shit, and like and you just at the All-Star game you also have the All-Star vendors at the same time. They fly vendors out from all over the country. That's what that would be so much fun.
Have
Do
them line up.
do like a vendor skills challenge, like the home
A
run
vendor
derby,
skills
but-
have you seen like that they had those old catcher skills tournament at one
Yeah.
All-Star game? Yeah. So like, you have a vendor skill tournament, like see who can like throw throw a bag of peanuts, perfectly into some hoop,
Yeah.
3 sections away. Who can pour
like 10 perfect
beer.
beers faster.
Yeah, as quick as possible with as least head as possible, cracking beers as fast as you can. Yeah, dude, there's some crazy vendors out there that I've met. There's a vendor in DC who is like an electrical engineer, and when you pop those, if it's a can and you're pouring a can, you open it, but then you also have to crack another hole on the other side so it pours fast. It's like you're shotgunning the beer into the cup. So he built a handheld machine that would just, I'm sure it was dangerous as fuck, but it was basically like a robotic can opener on his wrist, and he would just put it on the top of the can and it would cut the top of the can off. So then the can of beer was just like a can with an empty top, and he could just plop it straight into a cup.
We got
get them
performance
all out there.
enhancers for vendors.
That's right, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring them out. I want to see the vendor skills challenge.
Dude,
see
I would totally be down
what
for
fan
that.
base, what fan base could like pass down the change back to the vendor. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That's important too. That's important too. I always thought
amazing.
it must be tough in Canada because they have the dollar coins and the $2 coins. It's tough, it's easier to deal with those singles,
Yeah.
You to
Have
deal
them
with
all
those
line up
coins.
at the line at the All-Star game in Seattle, like every hot dog Hal, hot dog Steve from the Nationals, hot dog Doug from the Marlins.
They announce you, give me an A.
Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely.
God. Well,
It's time baseball recognized the true heroes.
absolutely.
The beer vendors.
Hey, if you have a beer at a ball game, are you really at a ball game?
The cotton candies, the cotton candy and like kettle corn guys filed like a discrimination suit. Like, why weren't we there?
Yeah, come on.
Well, Hal, this has been a lot of fun, man. Thank you for joining us. We enjoyed it and hope you did as well. Where can our listeners find you? Where can they kind of keep up with the movement that's going on with what you guys are maybe rolling with the rest of the year?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter as A's Hot Dog. Another great Twitter follow is the Oakland 68s. Those are the guys, the drummers out in right field. So give us a follow. And most importantly, I think, watch out for July 25th. And if you're at the game at July 25th, if you see somebody, doing a chant, a sell the team chant or stay in Oakland chant, just join us. Because, what sucks, the Bay Bridge series is so cool, man. It's so much fun. That rivalry will go away. It's a different rivalry than the Giants have with the Dodgers. I think it's a little bit more friendly, but it's also more fun because you can take a BART to both games, so you don't have to, if you want to go to an away Giants Dodgers game, you have to like drive down there or fly down there. It's losing the second team will be a loss for Giants fans too. So, join us in publicly embarrassing Rob Manfred.
There you go.
I'm always down for that.
Yes. And of course, everybody could follow the podcast on Twitter at @shutdown_inning. And then
absolutely.
Yeah, go
subscribe to the
follow us.
Podcast. Come on.
Subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, YouTube, all that fun stuff. And more episodes to come. And without further ado, see you next time.
That's what's up.
See you guys.